it's such a dynamic relationship. And, we've been doing this since 2018. So we've been working on this partnership for, 5 years going on. So it's become really full and deep, and I cherish it.
It is so nice to meet you guys. I'm a huge fan of Resident Alien, so great to talk to you.
Likewise. Thank you.
Well, obviously, I need to start off with that giant plot twist at the end of season 2. I don't even know where to begin, honestly. But Levi, as far as we've known, Ben's storyline has pretty much been separate from the aliens. He's been trying his best to be a good father, be a good mayor. But with this revelation of his abduction, what was it like to finally bring your character into that world?
It cleared up a lot of things for me. When Chris first told me that was going to happen to Ben at the end of the season, we talked a lot about how this might explain a lot of Ben's behavior throughout the first 2 seasons, which is, mostly full of being a coward and just being like afraid of conflict. And we talked a lot about how, he's basically, without knowing, been abducted for his entire life, like since he was a child. And so it was fun to kind of put those pieces together to realize that this explains a lot of why Ben is the character that he is, basically.
Well, we also find out that your unborn baby, is alive. I mean, Kate was pregnant. Yeah. So what were both of your reactions when you read that in the script? And did you have any questions?
I loved when he told us that's where we were going. I feel like I was like, oh, this offers us so much, because I think both of us have this sense in very different ways. Like Ben may kind of move away from conflict and I sort of move into it, but there's this sense of things not feeling right, or something being wrong, or not fitting in, or looking for place, and this unease. And I feel like that it was such an awesome way to launch into season 3 with this question of like, because I have I start the season with no idea of what's happened to me, but with this sort of underlying feeling that something isn't right, and I have no conscious memory of the abduction or that my baby's being taken, but there's this tension and fear that's inside my body, which is, I think, how it comes out. Right. And especially in the beginning of season 3, of like being scared of being in my own home, and how I respond to that. It was a very activating place to launch into the next season.
Shifting gears a little bit, I'm actually a huge fan of the relationship between your characters. I love that they have their ups and downs. I mean, I think it shows how real relationships take work. So how do you each feel about the way the show has portrayed the marriage so far? And what do you hope it will continue to do in season 3?
It's hard because, we talked, I remember talking to Chris a little bit about this, is, we kind of will take, in some instances, we'll take in the relationship, one step forward, but then the next episode, it's 2 more steps back. So it's this constant, kind of push and pull, which, is appropriate for a television show. I mean, if we just got along the whole time or fought the whole time, it wouldn't be interesting. You need those kind of ups and downs. But I think as each episode comes along, the relationship progresses, which is nice to see. I mean, they're in such a different place at the end of season 3, especially than they were, in the pilot and in the first couple episodes. So yeah, it's been great, especially with, Meredith as a scene partner. We get to discuss a lot of, how we're feeling about things. And Chris is so open to talking things over. It's just, I've never worked on a show where I've gotten to, interact that much with the creative people in charge. And so it's been fun to be a part of it.
Yeah, same. I mean, it's so funny because when you start the series at first glance, these 2 people are really like, they can seem at times like oil and water, like they're really bouncing off of each other in in really negative ways, where you're like, whoa, what's going to happen to these 2 people? But the more they've written these a more 3-dimensional. It's just the marriage has become more 3-dimensional by every passing episode. And I like really fell in love with their dynamic because I was like, oh yeah, because the reality is that people do get out of sync. People do feel like they're on different pages, or what's going on inside manifests outside and gets taken out on the people who you're the closest to. But what I love about them is that element of actually how they're different. And I feel like it was such like an act of mercy for herself, for Kate to choose Ben, because he's the perfect balance to her. He reacts so differently to scenarios than she does and has such different internal motivations, but he's so kind. And that sort of like, I feel like they weather so many storms because they keep coming back to this central theme of human chemistry, not just like, sexy chemistry, human chemistry and kindness between them. And so it's really fun to be a part of, because you can go into these conflict moments that, especially some of them are hilarious. And that's really fun to live out with Levi, because he's an unbelievable scene partner and is so funny, and the writing is so funny. But then we also get to like just drop it all and be just dropped in and have real, just human connection moments of grief or like deep love. So it's such a dynamic relationship. And, we've been doing this since 2018. So we've been working on this partnership for, 5 years going on. So it's become really full and deep, and I cherish it.
Yeah, well, then Levi, kind of on that same note, Ben is obviously very devoted to his wife, but there was kind of a little bit of a tease last season with Darcy. I mean, there's obviously something on her end, but how were you approaching it from your character's point of view?
From my character's point of view, I just made the decision that, I've known Darcy my entire life. And yes, we did have this romantic history together, but ultimately I love her like family. And I'm comfortable around her because I've just known her for so long. And so I never approached it in like a romantic way, or was at least trying not to. It was more just, I do love and care about my friend, but then that gets mixed up just from the place that she's in at the moment. And then it kind of spirals from that kiss a bit. And then Ben's obviously afraid to be honest with Kate about it. But I just approached it as, like my best friend's having a hard time, basically.
Well, thank you guys so much for chatting with me. It was so great to talk to you.
Thank you,
so much.
You're
nice
awesome.
to meet you.
You too. Thanks, guys.